So in 2006, the UC Santa Cruz students had a great idea. They said, we want to do something about climate change, we want to do something about energy. The simplest thing they could think of, which was readily available, was to buy renewable energy certificates. What is that? Well, it was billed as a way to offset the campus's purchase of electricity from traditional sources, fossil fuel, the big utility, and buy power that was being generated through wind and geothermal, sources like that. So the students put a measure on their little ballot. They voted to tax themselves $9 a year to raise money and buy these credits. And that's what they did. Starting in 2007, they spent $100,000. This is scarce, hard-earned money that students at the University of California are paying on top of all their tuition and fees. Okay, so they felt good. The EPA advertised this. They said, wow, this is one of the leading universities for buying green power. Even the campus's own website said, wow, look at this. All these students are buying green power. And then as we started to look a little bit further into it, we kind of wondered, gee, you know, how is it that when you have a $7 million electricity bill, spending $100,000 buys you enough power to offset all your conventional sources of power? That just didn't make sense. I looked into it. The students looked into it. Turned out that these renewable energy certificate, or RECs they're called, these brokers of RECs were selling what are called the environmental attributes of renewable power. Well, what does that mean? That means, okay, so if you have a wind turbine, the wind turbine is spinning around, it's making electricity, okay? Normally, you would buy the electricity from the wind turbine, you'd say you were buying green power and everybody goes home. But through the magic of marketing, what these brokers said was, well, look, whenever a wind turbine turns, there's electricity, and then there's this thing called the environmental attributes of renewable power. That is to say, it's good for the environment. We're going to slice those off, and then they're going to sell their electricity, and you're going to buy this thing called the environmental attributes of power, of green power. And we're going to make it cheap, okay? Because the reason everybody wants to buy RECs is because green power is more expensive than conventional power. That's part of the problem. It costs maybe 11, 12 cents to buy power from a wind farm. You can buy commercial or industrial electricity for 6, 7 cents from coal, natural gas, so on. All right. So for a cent or half a cent, you could buy this REC. Well, nobody knows what environmental attributes means. Nobody can get their heads around that because it's really kind of phony. So instead, what people do who buy these RECs is they say, well, look, we buy all our power, we buy nothing but green power. The EPA awards, everybody shows this on their websites, and starts to celebrate what they're doing. But it's not true. So the students got upset with this. They said, well, we don't want to do that anymore. And back in last spring, 2010, they voted again. They said, should we change what we do with this money that we raise? Should we use it for on-campus renewable energy projects, for projects down in the community? And overwhelmingly, the students said, yes, we should do that. We'll put solar panels on our rooftops. We'll do hot water. We'll do energy efficiency projects. That's real renewable energy. We won't do this mumbo-jumbo stuff.
What do you think when you see an advertisement from a utility that says, sign up for green power?
Well, my original impulse when somebody says sign up for green power is to remember the days back in the 90s when you could actually select a utility that was sourcing its power from renewable sources. And you could buy, I think it was Green Mountain Energy was one of them. You could actually sign on the dotted line and they would bill you, and they were investing in geothermal and wind and so on. That's what you're supposed to think when somebody says sign up for green power. Now I read the fine print. Now if somebody says green power is really these renewable energy certificates, then I say I don't want to have anything to do with it.
Do you think utilities are taking advantage of consumers this way by telling them they're getting green power when they're really not?
Well, what I think you're asking is who's responsible for this? And I think it's not just utilities. It's the brokers of the RECs. It's the EPA that is promoting these on its website. It's the certifiers like Green-E. It's even the Department of Energy, which has a National Renewable Energy Laboratory that also promotes the use of renewable energy certificates. So it's not just utilities. The whole policy system around renewable energy is complicit in this misinformation.
Do you think that utilities, though, have marketed this to consumers thinking that they're going to get green power and they really know they're not?
I don't think that the utilities have marketed it to us. So I can say that from my experience, which is only with the University of California, it's not that PG&E, our utility, came to us and said, hey, have we got a deal for you? It's these RECs. It's the brokers of renewable energy certificates. It's the people who rank your environmental sustainability. These are the people who I think inspired the students to go in that direction. We never heard from PG&E.
Do you think that these RECs are being retired, they are being tracked accurately, that they are being accounted for the way the industry says they are?
Well, here's my understanding of the certification that goes on in this industry. You will see people who sell RECs and they'll say, these are Green-E certified. So you can trust us and you can buy them with confidence. Now, I think that Green-E very capably, very competently makes sure that if you buy a REC, that you're the only one buying that REC, and that it doesn't get sold 2 or 3 times and so on. I think that's probably working pretty well. What Green-E doesn't do and is not able to do is to say that your purchase resulted in new renewable power being generated. This is what most consumers think is happening. Most consumers, when they say, I'm going to pay some more money, I expect something new to happen, something additional to happen. I expect new wind farms to be built and so on. Nobody can certify that for sure.
So when I buy green power, I may not really be getting it.
When you buy RECs, you're not getting green power. When you buy green power, I don't know, that could mean that you're getting some. It depends who you're buying it from and what they're calling it.
Do you think there needs to be more accountability, more government intervention, more supervision?
Well, first of all, I'd like it if the federal government stopped promoting renewable energy certificates as if they were offsets, where you're offsetting 1 kilowatt hour of conventional power with 1 kilowatt hour of renewable power. So the first thing it could do before it even regulates is say, well, we're not going to keep celebrating and pushing this. We're not going to keep having our top 50 green power partners just because they spent 10 cents on the dollar with these renewable energy certificates and calling it green power. That's the first thing the government could do. Regulating, it could be the third-party certifiers like Green-E. Green-E could get into the business and say, you know what, we think that these renewable energy certificates should result in brand new power, and we won't certify any that don't result in brand new power. That would be a step. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the government. It could be the third-party certifiers in the industry.
Do you think when California gets to the point where they're actually buying renewable power as part of the RPS, do you think we'll get to the point where the power companies, the utilities are actually buying that power and they don't need these RECs as rain checks?
That's the hope. The hope is that you have so much renewable power on the market that people won't be interested or motivated. But before that happens, I think we need people to stop taking the easy way out. The easy way out is to paper over what's really going on and saying you have purchased this environmental attribute. So I fear that it will be many years before we have so much renewable power on the market that the RECs can be ignored.